Hey hun, I'm Chloe and this is the outside leg hang or Gemini tutorial. My mission here is to share my passion for pole dancing and make pole dancing easy to learn and accessible. This is the 6th video of the intermediate pole trick tutorial series. In order to maximize your training out of all the videos, I highly recommend you to start from the very first video of this playlist, as the tricks will be a progression of the video before. The outside leg hang or Gemini is a staple move of pole dancing. The prerequisite for this one will be your ankle grab tutorial and your invert tutorial, so make sure that you've watched that before. We'll try 6 entries today. This video is mirrored for your ease of learning. I'll have a red wristband on my right wrist and my right ankle to indicate the right side of my body if you do get confused of the directions at any time. This trick tutorial is created for you for information and educational purposes only, and for you to enjoy learning pole dancing from the comfort of your own home. Please participate at your own risk and don't work beyond your capability, and seek help or spotting when necessary. For any health concerns, please make sure you seek professional medical advice. Please also make sure you warm up your body before you start this video. I have a warm-up depending on your level under the playlist so that you can try it before you do the tricks. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up so that I know to create more of these kinds of videos, and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet so that you are notified every single time I upload a video. If you're looking to further your pole journey and combining tricks and dance together, then consider subscribing to my online learning platform, Pole Art Vault, where we'll be putting combos and dance together and learning an entire routine. For further information, you can find the link in the description below. Alrighty, without further ado, let's learn how to outside leg hang or Gemini. Now let's get into our conditioning. Now, just to preface our conditioning, I won't be going through any conditioning required for pull strength today, because I have covered that in our ankle grab and straddle invert conditioning. So make sure that you've watched that tutorial before you start this one. Now, for our conditioning today, we are going to be focusing on our leg hook that is required in our outside leg hang or Gemini. So let's just try 3 conditioning exercises together today. So our first one is going to be a leg hook and side stretch. Now, we're going to start off with standing on the left side of the pole, just about a step away. Now from there, you're hooking your inside knee at hip height. Now from there, you're going to start getting our hands out to the side, and we're going to do a few side crunches. Now when you're doing your side crunch, make sure that your hips aren't pushed back nor forward. I want you to make sure that your hips are neutral and aligned to the pole. Now from there, hands come behind our head. Make sure that your elbows aren't placed in, elbows facing out to the side, and squeeze your glute, squeeze your ankle. We're gonna bring it all the way to the side and then back to neutral. Now, when you're doing these exercises, just ensure that your ankles aren't coming out as such. Make sure you maintain that squeeze as much as you can. You should feel a lot of squeeze through your glute, your hamstring, your hip as well, because your hips are going to also be in a slight flexion. And you're leaning out to the side, so obviously you'll feel it through your obliques as well. And obviously your standing leg as well, because you're using that to stabilize. So hands come all the way behind your head, interlock your fingers. Let's try 4 on each side. Squeeze through that leg. 4, 3, squeeze that leg. 2, and last one. Well done. Let's try it on the other side. So starting step length away, hook your knee at hip height and ensure that that's at hip height. Squeeze that ankle as much as you can. Hands go behind your head. And 4, 3, 2, And last one. Perfect. Well done. Now, for those that want to take the progression, then make sure that you hold each position for a little bit longer, and you can also increase your reps as well. So instead of doing 4, maybe you want to do 8, maybe you want to do 20. This is really up to you. So work on whatever is at your level. Now let's try our next conditioning. Now for the next one, we are going to do our hip thrusts in the knee hook. So we're going to hook that knee onto the pole, hip height again. Now from there, keeping that squeeze and engagement, we're going to press our hips back. So think about pressing your hip into your quad, and we're going to bend through that bottom leg. Now, if you want to extend that bottom leg, you can do that as well. This is really up to you. If you want a bit of a stretch through your hamstring, it might be beneficial to straighten that. Or if that's too much for you, you can bend through that bottom leg. You're going to press your hips into the quad, then you're going to come into a hip extension. So think about pressing your hips forward, squeeze your glute, and really kick that ankle towards your booty. Now, if you're feeling any cramp through your hamstring or your glute, you're definitely doing that right. That means that you're really working that muscle, so it's a really good sign. Let's try 4 on each side. So you're gonna press your hip back, press, thrust your hip, 4, 3, 2, and last one. Well done. Now on the other side, I'm just going to show you a side profile of this because this is going to be really crucial in terms of the hip extension. So when I'm in this position, I'm just making sure that my leg is aligned to the pole. When I'm pressing my hips forward, I'm not just pressing and just leaning backwards. I'm extending those hips as much as I can and really engaging through the core. Now, if I don't engage through the core, then what happens is you're gonna end up using your back, you're probably gonna overload your back, and you're not really using your hamstring anymore. So make sure that you really work on tucking your tailbone in, engaging your core, and pressing your hips forward at the same time. Let's try it on the other side. I'm gonna do the side profile again, maybe this way. I'm gonna hook the knee at hip height. I'm gonna press my hips back, hip back, thrust, 4, 3, 2, last one, squeeze. Well done. So there's your second conditioning done. Now let's go through our last conditioning exercise, which is our leg kicks. Now with our leg kicks, what this is going to help you is when you're coming into your outside leg hang, the back leg, the free leg, you're going to have to extend that leg really open through your chest. So it's going to help you with that back leg and keeping it nice and straight. So you're standing on your inside leg and grabbing the pole at inside hand shoulder height. Now from here, open through your chest, think about drawing your shoulders slightly back. You're going to bring your leg to the side and you're going to kick it backwards. Now, when you're kicking your leg backwards, I'm just going to do the side profile again. Make sure that you're kicking your leg slightly backwards, so at a corner, rather than kicking it directly backwards. So I'm kicking it slightly to the side, and that's going to make your outside leg hang, back leg shape look very, very nice. So let's do 8 kicks on each side. Regression, keep your foot flat if that's too hard for you. Otherwise, come onto your calf, use that cuff, stay on your toes. And let's try 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Well done. Let's try it on the other side. And 8, 7, make sure you're really squeezing that leg nice and straight. 6, 5, squeeze your quad, squeeze your glute. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Well done. That is all your conditioning done for today. Alrighty, now let's get into our outside leg hang or Gemini. This is what it looks like. Alrighty, now let's break down our outside leg hang or Gemini. Let's try this move from the floor just so that we can start familiarizing ourselves with the move. So I'm starting on the left side of the pole. I'm just going to face the other side so that you can see. And I am going to get my inside shelf onto the pole and on my back. And I'm bending through both of my legs. So just to clarify, my shelf is essentially the squishiest part of your oblique. So I'm pressing my shelf into the pole. Now from here, I'm grabbing the pole with my inside hand, just a little higher, just around where my knee height is when I'm bending my knee, and then outside hand on top of it. Now, I'm going to bring my outside leg onto the pole and going to get my outside knee as I lift my left butt slightly off. Now when I'm hooking my leg, just ensuring that you're turning your knee out, so external rotation of your knee, and I'm going to hook my leg down until my ankle or my heel hits my leg. Squeeze that leg as much as you can and you're going to bring your other leg straight. So just try to remember the sensation of the leg hook. Make sure that it's in right into that knee pit. If it's hitting your calf, then it's probably it's probably because you're not hooking right into the knee crease. So make sure that you're getting it right into your knee pit. The other thing you want to know is make sure that you're turning your knee out. So external rotation of your knee, and then pull the ankle down to the floor. Cool. Let's try this on the other side as well. So I'm getting my left shelf onto the pole, grabbing the pole with my inside hand, outside hand on top, lifting my outside leg up, hook that knee. You can even take your hand off if that hand's in the way, right into that knee crease. And then this is my leg hang position, the top leg. Perfect. Now that you're familiar with the leg hook, let's try our first entry into our outside leg hang or Gemini. Now the first entry is going to be from lying on our back and hooking our outside knee onto the pole as we lift our hips up. So this is going to have to happen simultaneously. So once you come onto your back, you're going to lift your hip up and then hook the leg onto the pole. So as you can see in the first entry, my back is still on the floor, my upper back is on the floor, but my lower back and my hips are lifted up. Now remember when you're doing this entry that you're going to have to lift your hips up first. So if you need to practice your leg lifts and lifting your hips up, you might want to start off with this first. Utilizing that same momentum. Once you get your shelf onto the pole, you're grabbing the pole with your inside hand on the bottom, outside hand on top. I'm going to lift my hip up, hook onto the pole. So essentially I'm lifting both of my legs up, both legs up into a straddle, and then I'm hooking my outside leg onto the pole. Let's try this on the other side. So I'm getting my shelf onto the pole, inside hand on the bottom, outside hand on top. I'm going to lift both of my legs up into a straddle and then hook that outside knee onto the pole. Well done. Now let's try our second entry, which is from a reverse plank. Now with our reverse plank, you're going to start off with aligning your shelf onto the pole with our inside hand on the bottom, outside hand on top again. Now this time, your hands should be above your head height. Now, make sure that your legs are about shoulder width apart, a little bit wider if you need that. We're going to start leaning slightly backwards, lifting our hips up, and then getting that shelf again onto the pole. Now just make sure that your body is nice and straight all the way from your head to your hip to your knees. Then from there, you're going to lift your legs up. So press your hips up, hook that outside knee. Now from there, if you feel secure, you can get your inside armpit onto the pole, press your inside hand onto the pole, and then you are in your outside leg hang. Well done. Let's try this on the other side. So I'm going to get my inside shelf onto the pole, lifting my hips up. If it helps you, you can pull your chest through, hook your knee, get into your inside armpit, press your inside arm onto the pole, and I'm in my outside leg hang. Well done. Now, when you're pressing through your inside arm, just remember that you want to turn your palm in. So it's almost like you're trying to slap your butt. So remember, rather than turning your hand out, turn your hand in. Think about really squeezing through your arm. Now, let's go through our third entry, which is from a lunge. Now, with a lunge, I'm going to start off with my right armpit. I'm going to start in my lunge where both of my knees are aligned to the pole first. I'm grabbing my inside armpit onto the pole, outside hand on top, just around inside hand neck height, outside hand cheek height. I'm stepping through my inside leg first. So remember, same leg as your bottom hand. Now from there, once I come into a lunge, I'm going to look towards the top of the pole. I'm swinging my outside leg on top, whoop, hooking my outside knee onto the pole, kick that inside leg back, squeeze that pole right into your armpit. Press your inside armpit onto the pole, chicken wing arm, then drop your other hand out to the side. Grab the pole back, step your inside leg down, then outside leg down. Well done. Let's try this on the other side. Knees aligned to the pole, inside hand neck height, outside hand cheek height. I'm stepping my inside leg forward first into the lunge, looking towards the top of the pole. I'm going to swing my outside leg onto the pole, hook that knee, straight into your inside armpit, press that chicken wing arm, grab the pole back, inside leg down, then outside leg down. Well done. So there is your third entry into your outside leg hang. Now, fourth entry, we're going to try now from an ankle grab. Now, with your ankle grab, you know the drill. Make sure that you've watched that ankle grab tutorial before. Once you come into your ankle grab, from there, once you get that pole right into your shelf, you're going to release your inside leg and you hook your outside knee at the same time. Now from there, you're gonna really get that pole into your armpit. Take your outside hand off if you're feeling secure. Grab the pole back, unhook your outside knee as you drop your inside leg, then coming down. Well done. Let's try this on the other side. Coming into your ankle grab. Get that pole right into your shelf. Hook your outside knee, inside leg down at the same time. Get right into your armpit, press through that armpit. Grab the pole back, slide your outside knee off slowly, then dismounting with control. Well done. So there's your fourth entry. Now let's move on into a fifth entry, which is straight into a knee hook. Now I know that some people prefer this knee hook entry rather than getting into the ankle grab. So let's just see how we go with this one. Now, once you get into your stronghold grip, also I know some people call this buddy grip. Once you come into your stronghold grip, you're gonna look towards the top of the pole. Instead of getting straight into your ankle grab, you're going to hook that outside knee straight onto the pole. So you're looking up, step through your inside leg, outside leg hooks into your outside leg hang. Beautiful. Let's try this on the other side. Getting into your inside armpit, looking towards the top of the pole. Swing your outside leg over, hook into your leg hang. Perfect. Now let's get into our last entry, which is the ultimate one that I really want you to nail today, which is our straddle into an outside leg hang. Now this is gonna be a staple move and entry because most of the time we wouldn't really go straight into a leg hang from this floor or any of the entries that we've done before. Those are going to be regression moves that's going to help you progress through each of them. So make sure that you just use them as a regression and ultimately work towards the straddle into an outside leg hang. So once you get into your straddle, and again, I just want to stress how important it is to get your shelf onto the pole, because once you get into your leg hang, then this is going to really be very beneficial getting that shelf onto the pole. So I'm getting into my straddle. From there, I'm hooking my outside leg, dropping that leg backwards, squeezing that pole into my armpit. Once you feel secure, you're going to slide that hand down, take it off into your outside leg hang. To come out, grab the pole back, bring that inside leg and outside leg into a straddle again, then dropping your leg down. Well done. Let's try this on the other side. Coming into your straddle, hook that outside knee, drop your leg backwards, inside armpit on the pole, take your hand into your outside leg hang. Grab the pole back in between your cookie, inside leg out, outside leg down into straddle again, then stepping out. Well done. That was a monstrous amount of progressions and regressions. 6 entries into an outside leg hang or Gemini. Alrighty, now let's go through some tips and common mistakes. Now, first common mistake is the knee hook. Now, when it comes to knee hooks, this is a very, very common one where maybe you might have not been using much of your knee hook before or your hamstring strength, that your knee hook position is slightly altered. Now, what I mean by altered is that maybe your knee hook isn't right in your knee pit and it could be on your calf. Now, in order to identify this, you can see maybe if you're filming yourself or if you're looking through the mirror when you're doing your leg hangs, is that there's a gap between your knee pit and the pole. So, say for example, I am doing a leg hang on my calf. You can see that there's a gap between my knee pit and the pole, and there's a little gap. So in order to mitigate that, you want to ensure that when you're hooking the knee pit onto the pole, that you're getting right into that knee pit and adjusting the angle of your leg hang. So commonly, you might be in an internal rotation of your knee slightly. So make sure you externally rotate it. So you can see that I'm hooking my knee and then turning it away, really bringing that ankle towards the thigh rather than away. And that's going to help you get a very, very solid knee pit grip. Now, speaking of grip, make sure that for this trick that you've got your knee pit grip, and it's not just knee pit, you actually need a little bit through the side of the knee and the back of the knee as well. So just make sure that you've gripped up all around that knee area. Obviously you need your shelf grip, so make sure that you've applied grip aid on your shelf, your knee pit, and your hands as well. Another common one that people tend to forget is the back of the arm. Now, if you do have sweaty or even dry arm, then this is going to be really tricky to work on. Remember that it is called a leg hang, but you're not actually just using your knee pit. You are using your shelf, you are using the back of your arm. So make sure that you've gripped up the side of your arm and your armpit, and that's going to help you tremendously with this move. So if you have short sleeved shirt, or if you are wearing a shirt, make sure you take it off. You're really going to need that back the armpit grip. So utilize all the grip points as much as you can. Now, speaking of the shelf, this is another common mistake. I see a lot of people just using the knee pit or just using the arm, but make sure you get it right into that shelf, because that's going to help you a lot with your grip. So in order to do that, if you feel like you're not in your shelf, it could be because your chest isn't facing up into the ceiling. It could be either that you're pulling yourself into the pole or you're turning too far away from the pole. If you're turning in, which is most of the common mistakes, you can see that the pole is sitting right in my tummy, and then it's gonna end up sitting in my rib cage, which is no bueno. It's not very nice. So just make sure that you're turning away from the pole so that you can get that pole right into your little pocket there. And in order to do that, easiest to do it from an ankle grab or from a kick up as well. So just pick your regressions. If one regression is not working, go back to the one below. If that's not working, go back to the down below. And again, maybe you may not be ready yet for the leg hang. That's totally fine. Make sure you keep working on your ankle grabs and straddles. Really working on that foundation, because when this foundation is very solid, then that's going to help you with the moves that are about to come in the rest of the intermediate pole trick tutorial series. Now, the next tip is ensuring that your inside leg is pointing the right direction. Now, sometimes, and this is quite rare, but I do see some people bringing their leg not into a sort of like a side kick. Now, this one is, when you're doing a leg hang, it's actually sort of like a side bend rather than a full sort of like split where your hips are square. You're slightly opening your chest out to the side, so it's a bit of like a fake split or like a side split. Now, the difference is, I'm just going to show it for you from the side so that you can see the side profile. My leg isn't in a straddle forward, but I'm kicking my leg out to the side as I open my chest away from it. So you can see that I'm not turning my body into the pole and towards the leg, but think almost like you're trying to turn away from that leg. So that's going to really help you get your shelf into the right position, which is the first one, and also the leg into position. So think almost about squeezing your outer glute, not your inner glute, because you're trying to squeeze this way away to the side. A good solid leg grip is when you feel the engagement through the upper part of and the side of your glute. So just make sure you keep working on that, and that's going to help you get that really solid outside leg hang. Now, a little side note about the leg. I know that some people prefer bending their back leg compared to straightening your leg. So there's no real right or wrong for that. I usually don't really bend through that back leg. I usually prefer a straight leg. But again, there's no right or wrong. If you really like that sort of look where you're bending through the back leg, feel free to do that. That's really up to you. Or otherwise, you can just keep that leg straight and then coming into your leg hang. Now, in order to make your outside leg hang look nice, and if you want to create a little bit more zhuzh through that leg hang, make sure that you work on your hands. Now, hands are such a crucial part of leg hangs, where especially when moves where your hands are free, you want to make sure that your hands are looking really, really nice. Now, obviously with your inside hand, because you are pressing the pole, it's gonna be tricky to stylize your inside hand, but you can always work through your outside hand because your outside hand is the free hand. Now, in terms of stylizing, there's a few different options. My favorite one, because I've got a figure skating and flamenco background, is using sort of like this fox hands, I usually call them. So I'm almost sandwiching through my thumb, middle finger, and ring finger. Gentle sandwich, and I'm sort of pointing my index finger and pinky slightly up. Now, in terms of stylizing, you want to make sure that you're bringing it up from your elbow. So I always start with my elbow. You can either trace it up your body, or you can bring it out, and then you can bring it back in, or you can keep bringing it out and then bring it out again. So this is really up to you, and obviously with hand stylizing, that takes a bit of practice. So make sure that you're always gentle with your wrists. Think almost like you're trying to create a ripple. You don't want to be too intense with your hands, otherwise it's just like gets a bit rigid. So there's a few things you can do. With your inside hand, make sure you still create that fox, but you can move your hand up, you can bring it down, and keep working on different hand movements, because that's gonna really elevate your outside leg hang to the next level. Now, let's talk about our hook positioning when it comes to our leg hangs. Now, this is a common mistake where when you're doing your leg hangs, you end up hooking over your hand and your hand gets stuck on the pole and between your knee pit. Now, this probably means that you're not pressing your hips up high enough and you end up hooking over your hand. So in order to mitigate that, make sure that you press your hips even higher where your hand is. So if you're here and you're like, oh my God, ow, I'm hooking over my hand, press your hips even higher and just hook a little bit higher so that you can slide your hands out in front of your cookie, then you can release those hands. Now, the other thing you can actually do is, instead of hooking higher, if you struggle to press your hips higher, you can slide your hand down so that your hands are out of the way. So, let's say I'm in my ankle grab, I'm squeezing through my hands. I slide my hand down so that I don't have to press my hips higher, then I can hook my knee onto the pole. Now, if your hips are low, then that probably means that you need a little bit more conditioning. So make sure that you keep working on your ankle grab and invert before you try this tutorial. And that's gonna really help you with solid foundations before you start doing your outside leg hangs. And as always, if you feel like you're sliding off the pole, I always have all my grip recommendations in the link in the description. So make sure you check them out so that you can get the right grip for your body skin type. Now let's talk about our head positioning in our outside leg hang or Gemini. Now this is another common one where when you're coming into your invert, that you're looking up towards the ceiling rather than looking down. Now, if you look up into the ceiling, what happens is that you're going to round your back and you're going to end up losing the grip in your leg hang. So although I know it's scary, make sure you keep looking down to the floor when you're doing your leg hangs. So I'll show you what I mean here. So let's say, for example, I'm coming into my invert, I'm looking down to the floor, I'm gonna look up and I hook. You can see that as soon as I look up, I end up rounding my back and I won't be able to hook the knee in the right positioning. I may end up hooking my knee over my hand because my hips are low, and then you're going to end up sliding down. Now, if I keep looking down to the floor, open my chest and I hook, this is going to be much, much easier because I'm opening through my upper back and my thoracic spine, and it's just much, much easier and it looks much nicer coming into the outside leg hang. So again, I know it's a bit scary. You might want to use a crash mat, use a ton of pillows around you if that helps, or get someone to spot you, and that's going to help you get that outside leg hang. Now, if you are asking someone to spot you, make sure that the spotter is on the outside part of your leg, and make sure that they're supporting your head and your back, because that's gonna be the parts that you want to get a spot on. Now, speaking of hooking over your hand, if you end up having to hook over your hand and maybe that you're still not strong enough to be able to do the leg hang, you're going to end up having to shuffle, which is this move where you go from here and then you like shoot up and then hook, and then you can see that I'm kind of like shuffling through. Now, although this could be a solution for now, I mean, in my opinion, it's not as clean as getting the pole right into your shelf from the get-go, making sure that you're hooking your outside knee straight away. So that is the difference between, maybe you might see that you're sort of like shuffling through when you're doing your leg hang versus a clean leg hang. So remember that when you want to get that really solid invert into the leg hang, it's probably because you still need to keep working on your conditioning. So make sure that you keep working on your ankle grabs, solid inverts before you get your outside leg hang. And again, this is all about making sure that your hips are nice and high, hands in front of your cookie, get right into that knee pit, and then getting into the leg hang. Now, next common mistake is your armpit grip. As I mentioned earlier, remember that you need all the grips. Now, with the hand grip, the easiest way to describe this is that you want your arm and leg to be parallel. Now, if your arm is not parallel to the back leg, then what happens is you're going to have to keep your hand on the pole. Maybe you're not squeezing enough. Make sure that you're almost trying to slap your bum or air slap your bum. Pull that hand in, palm facing in towards that leg, and that's gonna get that pole right into the armpit grip that you need. Now, I just want to quickly go through a very obvious tip, but point your toes. Now, I know that with pointing your toes, this is also common when it comes to if you have a hypermobile joint, which I do in some parts of my body. You may be looking at your toes and you're like, why does it look like I am pointing, but it's not pointing? You may be sickling your foot. Now, what I mean by sickling is that maybe you're sort of like curling your toe in. It's most likely curling your toe in and pulling your ankle in towards you. So just make sure that when you're pointing your toe, try to be conscious of your toe point and think, okay, if I'm like sickling my foot in, then that probably means that I have to curl my toe all the way from the center point. So just make sure that you work on your toe points as well. Now, lastly, let's just talk about our exits. Now, when it comes to exits, the reason why it's so important is one, aesthetic reasons, but secondly, to mitigate injuries. Now, if you're jumping out of moves, what happens is you firstly end up developing a habit of jumping out of moves, and you're going to lose the ability to control the exits. It could cause injuries, and also when you're coming out of it, just jumping out of things, then you're actually missing out on an opportunity to condition your body holding the moves. So in terms of your outside leg hang exit, the most ideal one is from a straddle and then coming down. So outside leg hang, straddle, controlling it down. Now, otherwise, if you're still working on the exits, then you might want to just squeeze the pole back into an ankle grab, tuck your chin in, and slide down. That's your easiest exit. However, if you are doing that exit, I would probably still recommend you to keep working on the conditioning for ankle grabs and inverts. Now, lastly, the best exit from it, if you need to sort of like emergency come out of it, is just hook that leg, just squeeze the pole back with your legs, coming into your ankle grab, tuck your chin in, slide all the way down to the floor. It might feel a little bit long, the slide down. Or just remember, try not to jump out of it. That is super, super dangerous. I don't want anyone injured. So just make sure that you always control your exit. Now that is all the tips and common mistakes. I know that was super loaded, but if you can really take in the details for outside leg hangs, you're gonna be able to really nail this move. Now, this trick tutorial has been extremely loaded, so if you've come this far, then props to you. Thank you so much for just sticking by. I know that leg hangs are such a big topic. Now, speaking of big topics, when it comes to this part of the journey, this is where I start to see a bit of a drop-off with tricks, because some people might find that it's getting really tough. Some people expect to get their leg hangs or even ankle grabs straight away the first go. And to be honest, that is very rarely the case, unless maybe you're a gymnast or a dancer or you've got some sort of background in sports. Now, when I started learning my leg hangs, it literally took me weeks or even months to get it. Honestly, don't even remember how long it took me. It's been that long. But just remember that you always want to be very gentle and kind to yourself when it comes to your pole journey. Everyone moves at such diverse levels because of their background, their history, whatever it is. So just remember that leg hangs, for some people, it might take you months, years even. And remember that you can always go back to foundations. Maybe you can even reassess your life. How stressed are you? How nervous are you training right now? Is the nervousness making you slide even more on the pole? How is your diet? How is your fatigue? How is your sleep? Reassessing things in your life is going to be very crucial when it comes to pole as well, and just daily life. If you're feeling stressed, it might be harder for you to stick onto the pole because you're sweating. Maybe if you've eaten greasy food, like I did the other day, I feel like my oil is just seeping out of my skin. I don't know if this is a thing. Look, I'm not a scientist, so don't quote me on this, but I feel like I have less sticky days when I eat greasy food. Just little things like that, it makes such a big difference in your pole journey. So remember to always reassess how you're feeling that day. If you feel like you need to take training off a day, go ahead and do that. You might need a day off. So always think how you're feeling. Try to be intuitive with your body, and that's going to help you tremendously in your pole journey. Thank you so much for joining me today in the outside leg hang or Gemini tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this massive tutorial, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye. Almost done. Give me like a few minutes. Can you? Minutes?